What is up, fan addicts, fan guy addicts? Welcome to episode numero 5 of the Ultimate Fan Guy. Today's episode is brought to you by Thug Life, the only way to roll. It's not actually brought to you by Thug Life, it's brought to you by me. And if you happen to know anyone who wants to sponsor an up and coming opinion based YouTube show, send them to this guy. I'd be down. So today's episode is going to be my top 15 action heroes of all time from movies. Now, this was tricky because I decided that it would be best to go ahead and leave off superheroes. So you're not going to be seeing Deadpool or Wolverine, even though they are technically two of my top 10 favorite heroes of all time. These are going to be, some of them are a little more sci-fi fiction, but none of them are actually superheroes. These are all characters in movies, and it is my top 15 list with an honorable mention because I love action movies apparently, and I had to include every single person that it's made this list. There were even 5 or 6 that I really wanted to include, but I wanted to not go up to 20 and keep it at 15. So we'll jump right into it. The Ultimate Fan Guy's top 15 action heroes of all time with an honorable mention. Honorable mention is going to be Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt is the star, Tom Cruise, obviously. He is the star of the Mission Impossible series. Fantastic hero. He's charismatic. He's smart. He's does his own stunts. Ethan Hunt is the man. He has a very good penchant for deception, and the Mission Impossible movies are pretty good. I personally think the first one was the best. It will always be the best to me, but I recently saw the newest one, and it was pretty good. So Ethan Hunt is definitely a character that warranted inclusion on this list, even though he just made honorable mention. He's still a badass and definitely worthy of a spot on my list. Next is going to be number 15, my 15th favorite action hero. He's going to be Jason Bourne. This guy kills people with pens and pencils and stuff like that. He's portrayed by Matt Damon, and there was a whole Bourne series, the Bourne Ultimatum, the Bourne Legacy, Bourne Identity. The Bourne Identity, I believe, was my favorite, which was the first. Jason Bourne is your typical, CIA or disavowed CIA type person, similar to Ethan Hunt. He's cold-blooded, calculating, smart, all the traits that like a CIA turned good guy rogue type thing is. The Bourne movies are, him trying to figure out his identity and getting into all sorts of craziness. Admittedly, I almost put Ethan Hunt ahead of him, but I had to get Bourne and Hunt both on here. They are both very similar. You could almost call them a tie for 15 because they have very similar stories even. So Jason Bourne, played by Matt Damon, very cool character. If you haven't seen the Bourne movies, check them out. Totally worth checking out. Moving on to number 14. This guy right here. This is John Matrix from the movie Commando, portrayed by the former governor of California, Arnold the Hitman Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger's portrayed a ton of action heroes. He once killed the devil with a sword in one of his movies. Watch my new movie, End of Days. I killed the devil with a sword. I'm sorry, my impression is terrible, but there are so many memorable Schwarzenegger characters, and the closest two for me were going to be John Matrix and Mr. Tasker from True Lies. He also did great in Total Recall. I mean, there's tons of Schwarzenegger movies. Little bit of a spoiler alert. Arnold does not actually pop up anywhere else on the list. But John Matrix, for me, is the most iconic Schwarzenegger character for whatever reason. Maybe it was because the bad guy in the movie Commando looked like a boy band reject with his little silver plated vest and stuff. But Commando is a fantastic movie. Alyssa Milano's in it. She plays Schwarzenegger's daughter. I'm trying not to give away too many plot things in case you haven't seen it, even though it's an epically classic movie. But if you haven't seen it, at some point he clearly holds a big ass rocket launcher that you can see in the picture. There's flames behind him. What more do you want? John Matrix coming in at number 14 with his epic portrayal, Arnold Schwarzenegger with his epic portrayal of John Matrix from the movie Commando. So that was number 14. We're going to go up to number 13 now. Ellen Ripley from the Alien series. At least the first 3 or 4 of them. They are now up to like 6 or 7. And she isn't in the last few, Prometheus and a few of those other Alien saga movies. But Ellen Ripley was in the first quite a few of them. And she's just a badass. She was kind of, without, again, I try not to do too many spoilers, just even though with super classic movies like Alien, just in case you haven't seen them, I don't want to give away too much, but Ellen Ripley was not, she got sent to a planet with a bunch of hardcore Bill Paxton-led Marines, and she was not the most combat trained of them, and she turned out to just be the biggest, baddest hero of them all. She did some really cool stuff in the first few Alien movies, overcame her lack of combat training to slay maybe. I mean, obviously, if she's been in a few Alien movies, I think it's a safe, non too bad spoiler to say she didn't die in the first movie. So, but Ellen Ripley is a true badass. She is a hero I grew up looking at. I love the Alien movies so much. So it's definitely only fitting to put Ellen Ripley on this list. She comes in at number 13 for her bona fide alien killing abilities. We're going to go to number 12. Boom. Viggo Mortenstern, as they call him on It's Always Sunny. Viggo Mortensen. He portrayed Aragorn, the Ranger in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This guy is a great actor. If you haven't seen Eastern Promises, I'm just throwing that out of the realm of whatever, but phenomenal in that movie. He's a good actor. The character Aragorn. So again, if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, I mean, have you been? A lot of people don't like them because, as Randall said in Clerks 2, a lot of the Lord of the Rings movies are just people kind of walking. And the second movie is more walking, and the third movie is walking. I'm putting the ring, and you have the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, I actually like Lord of the Rings, though The Fellowship of the Ring is a movie that I frequently put on to fall asleep to. So it clearly is maybe not that enthralling, but it also could just be because I've seen it so many times. Needless to say, of all the characters in that movie, Aragorn is the penultimate hero. He is a ranger. He is a protector. He is a lover. He is a stallion. He's a king. So if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, check it out. Viggo Mortensen, very cool character. Aragorn, or Strider, the ranger, who a lot of the series sort of revolves around him. At least. Kind of. I mean, it's more about the hobbits, but he's got a significant role in it, especially in the last movie. So, Aragorn comes in at number 12. Moving on to number 11. Bam. Kurt Russell's iconic character, Snake Plissken, from Escape from New York and Escape from LA. This character is somewhat of an anti-hero, I would say, for sure. And I had to either get him or Jack Burton. Jack Burton, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm really sad I left Jack Burton off this list, spoiler alert, because Jack Burton from Big Trouble, Little China, probably I should have put him over Snake Plissken in hindsight. but I chose Snake Plissken. So a little bit of an oversight on the Ultimate Fan Guy's part, but Snake Plissken's still a super badass. He pulls off nearly impossible things in Escape from New York and Escape from LA. If you haven't seen those movies, it centers around this guy who is basically a criminal of the United States. And the United States has, because the prisons have gotten overcrowded, they just decide to say, hey, we're going to designate this part of a country as a big prison, and we're going to throw all the prisoners in there. And basically, Snake Plissken, various things unfold, and they need to get someone into the prison to either retrieve something or save something. Again, I'm not trying to get too many spoilers here, and so Snake Plissken has a very strict timeline, which is why he's looking at his watch like that. And he has to get into the prison, do what he needs to do, and get out. And these prisons are just like cities of criminals. And so it's an adventure. And Snake Plissken, I mean, like I said, Kurt Russell also did Gabriel Cash from Tango and Cash, which, I mean, Tango and Cash, whenever I do my list of iconic duos, mark my words, Tango and Cash will appear on that list. Fantastic movie, but so were Escape from New York and Escape from LA. I get a little off track. I really do love movies so much, and action movies in particular. So Snake Plissken, he comes in at number 11 for, Kurt Russell's portrayal of this character. Fantastic movies, a little bit older movies, but really good, and tough to have a list of superfied action heroes without Snake Plissken on them. Next, Mr. Denzel Washington with his portrayal of Robert McCall from The Equalizer and The Equalizer 2. I almost put him higher because this is absolutely one of my favorite action characters. Robert McCall, again, you're going to see a common theme with a lot of these. He is an ex-badass government agent of some type. He has OCD to where, right before he gets into the heaviness, he always looks at his watch and times it, and it's kind of like, I think it's going to take this long for me to kill these 5 guys. And then he's always, kind of looking at it when he's done, and it'll be right on or a little off, and he kind of, it's quirky the way he acts with that. The plots of The Equalizer and The Equalizer 2, the first Equalizer in particular, the second one was good, but the first one was really good. It follows Robert McCall, who is, a seemingly unassuming guy who works at a Home Depot type store. Nobody really knows about his past. He quietly sits in a diner reading books all the time, and events unfold that, spur him into action to becoming the badass he was in his former life. So without getting into too many details, that's the general premise of The Equalizer. For me, this character is just iconic because he's very deep. He's philosophical. He's not your typical action movies hero, other than the fact that he has mad combat skills and can whip serious ass. Other than that, he's very reserved, thoughtful, very cerebral. And that is one of the things that really speaks to me about Robert McCall and Denzel Washington's portrayal of this character. Fantastic character, fantastic movies. If you have not seen the Equalizer movies, put them on your watch now list. Super worth the watch, and Denzel does an excellent job playing this character. He is one of my favorite action heroes of all time. He comes in at number 10. Number 9. This dude right here. Look at this dude right here. Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean or Caribbean series, depending on how you want to say that. There's also caramel versus caramel, vanilla versus vanilla. The list goes on forever. So whether you want to call it Pirates of the Caribbean or you want to call it Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't care. Captain Jack is amazing either way. Johnny Depp's portrayal of this character is second to none, almost to the point where I can't literally think of another human being that would have been able to portray this role the way he did it or make this character come to life the way he did. Captain Jack Sparrow is a pirate. He is an irreverent pirate. He is a IDGAF pirate. He don't give up, if you know what I'm saying. Um, he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum. He's a little out there. He tends to have a lot of blunders that turn into being genius moves. So for me, I mean, I'm sure, again, you've probably seen this character in Pirates of the Caribbean, but if you haven't, it's definitely worth a watch, if for no other reason than to see his portrayal of this legendary pirate. He's an amazing actor in this role, and he really brought this role to life better than I could even imagine any other actor trying to do it. So this role was perfectly cast, and I love these movies. Me and Michael Bolton both love these movies. There's even a Lonely Island song about this guy, and that is Captain Jack Sparrow. He comes in at number 9 on the Ultimate Fan Guys list of all-time heroes. So we're gonna go up to number 8. This is where stuff started getting hard for me, because the next 8 I really, really like a lot. So here we have Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I grew up on the Indiana Jones movies. You got Raiders of the Lost Ark, you got Temple of Doom, you got The Last Crusade, and then you got the one with Shia LaBeouf, the Crystal Skull. I'm gonna kind of gloss over that one, but the first 3 were epic. Indiana Jones is just he's an archaeologist, and he's a do-gooder, and he doesn't like Nazis. That's the gist of this character. He basically wants to make sure that priceless artifacts are kept in museums, rather than falling into the hands of evil cultists or Nazis. And he's a little different than a lot of the other heroes on this list because he doesn't have CIA training. He's really just a doctor of archaeology and a teacher, but he has a burning hero inside of him, and it allows him to overcome the odds at virtually every turn. There are tons of memorable characters from the Indiana Jones movies, none more iconic than Indy himself. You got Sean Connery, even pops up in the third one. The Anything Goes song from the second one was Short Round. First one, he's in the desert with that lady from the 80s movies who was in a lot of stuff that I can't put she also showed up in the fourth movie that I can't put my finger on her name right now. But Indiana Jones, clearly one of the most iconic classic heroes of all time. No way anyone, I think, in the world could put a top 10 list without having Indiana Jones on it. They even had an Atari game about this. So, I mean, this guy's just epic on every level. I almost put him a little higher on the list. The next few were really close between him and these next few. But, and they're almost interchangeable. But for whatever reason you haven't seen the Indiana Jones movies, you should definitely check them out. They are pretty darn good. Going up to number 7. If you build it, Neo will come. And the Matrix was built, so Neo came. This is Keanu Reeves's portrayal of Neo, or Mr. Anderson, from the Matrix trilogy. Great sci-fi movies. Neo is clearly the one. The Matrix movies, I really can't get into too much about without giving major spoilers. So if for whatever reason you haven't seen The Matrix or any of the follow-up movies, just trust me when I say you should watch them. They are cerebral. They were innovative for their time. Some of the first really interesting and cool concepts came out from them. And obviously Keanu Reeves knocked this role out of the park as Neo. I'm trying to figure out a way to tell you what these movies are about without giving away too much, but it's pretty impossible. Like, everything's a spoiler. So just know that, Carrie Ann Moss is in it. Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie. Tons of, man, just tons of Hugo Weaving, tons of great actors and actresses. Very iconic movies. I'm sure you've seen The Matrix, but if you haven't, check him out. So Neo comes in at number 7 because he is pretty epic in terms of heroes. Number 6, Bang 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 Rocky Balboa. This is Sylvester Stallone and his portrayal of Rocky Balboa, the underdog boxer, the Italian stallion, my people. Um, and there have been a lot of Rocky movies, and then they even had the Creed spinoff of Michael B. Jordan, which was really good, and Creed 2, which was not as good as Creed, but still okay. So Rocky follows the story of a down on his luck, very average fighter, Rocky Balboa, portrayed by Sylvester Stallone. And through interesting circumstances, he is granted a shot at the world title against Apollo Creed. So that's basically what the first Rocky's about. And every Rocky, thereafter, is kind of just about his life, the life of Rocky Balboa and his boxing career, and kind of the roller coaster ride it takes. I'm a fan of all of the Rockies up to 5. Even though a lot of people didn't like Rocky 5, I thought it was okay with Tommy Gunn. But I want to say that, probably the second one's the best. Second or first. The first 2 were the best. The third was really... Man, all the first 4 were really good. Then 5 takes kind of a little step down, and then the Rocky Balboa movie takes another step down. But this portrayal of, Stallone does a great job portraying Rocky. It could be because he was like a writer on this, and he actually wrote the character initially and did the screenplay himself. So can't really have a iconic hero list without Rocky Balboa on it. So a very worthy inclusion at number 6. For whatever reason you haven't seen the Rocky movies, definitely worth the watch. You will dig them. Number 5, Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. This is John McClane, portrayed by Bruce Willis from the Die Hard series. I got in a debate with one of my friends the other day who claimed that the Die Hard movies, at least the first 2, weren't Christmas movies. And I beg to differ. There's snow, there's Carl Winslow, there's Christmas parties, there's more snow. So I would say for sure the first 2 are Christmas movies. Now, when you get into the third Die Hard movie with Samuel L. Jackson, it's not a Christmas movie. Live Free or Die Hard with Justin Long and Bruce Willis is not a Christmas movie. But the first 2 movies, I would say, are Christmas movies. Just as Christmas is like Gremlins. It takes place at Christmas. Anyway, I got off track there, but Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It's just a high-action Christmas movie. You even got Alan Rickman, R.I.P., a.k.a. Severus Snape, who plays a character in the first Die Hard. Jeremy Irons plays a bad guy. The bad guy, Mr. Amos. A lot of memorable bad guys from the Die Hard series. I believe even Timothy Olyphant might play a bad guy too in the Free or Die Hard. I think that's his name. I don't know. Sorry, Mr. Olyphant, if that's not you. And it's some other guy who looks like you. But so John McClane is just a very rugged New York City cop who is just a badass, basically. He's a cop and he finds himself in some interesting situations throughout the series of movies. And he acts as any sort of rugged cop would. He played this role perfectly. I think can't really imagine anyone else doing more justice to John McClane. So whenever I think of John McClane, cop heroes from Die Hard series, which is some great movies, Bruce Willis comes to mind. Easy inclusion on the top 10 list, and he comes in at number 5. Great job, Bruce Willis portraying this character. John McClane is really cool. And this started the chain of Johns. The next 2 characters on this list are going to also be named John. And we had a John back at number 14 with John Matrix from Commando. And then we had the Matrix, Neo, at number 7. Ooh, see what I did there? But yeah, so this starts the string of Johns. We got John McClane at number 5. Number 4 is going to be John Wick. played by Keanu Reeves. His second inclusion on this list. Keanu Reeves is the first person that we see twice on this list. Um, John Wick series is pretty recent. If you haven't seen John Wick, it's amazing. Without giving out too many spoilers outside of the first 15 to 20 minutes of the first film, John Wick is basically the best assassin that has ever lived. He is good at every form of combat and just a quality killer. He's also very chill, very reserved, respectful. He comes off as like the quintessential assassin. He gets out of the assassin business through some nothing short of miracles because he wants to have a normal life and settle down. And then tragedy strikes him. You know, his wife dies. Something may happen where a character from Game of Thrones, Alfie Allen, who plays Theon Greyjoy, may or may not do something that really pisses him off and gets him back into the world of assassins. Once he's back in the world of assassins, it's very hard to get out again. And he is Baba Yaga. He's just a cold-blooded, super badass assassin. There are references to him also killing people with pencils. He uses a variety of weapons throughout the movies. He is clearly skilled at driving and killing. Um, don't want to get into too much more detail. Don't want to ruin them for you, but the John Wick series is amazing. The fact that it came for me higher on my list than like Rocky Balboa and Die Hard and Indiana Jones and The Equalizer says a lot because I really freaking love those movies. So John Wick, Keanu Reeves, definitely worth the watch. John Wick is, for me, number 4 on my list of top action heroes. Number 3, the last of the Johns, John Rambo. And we have Sylvester Stallone's second appearance on this list. I mean, what's there to say about Rambo? He's freaking Rambo. He's an ex-Vietnam war hero that's just a complete and total badass. I have actually admittedly not seen the most recent Rambo that just came out very recently, but I heard it's terrible, so I'm not going out of my way to see it. But I can say for sure Rambo 1 is a classic movie with Brian Dennehy and Sylvester Stallone. Rambo 2 was good. Rambo 3 was good. So there's not much to say about John Rambo. I mean, literally the name Rambo is in so many areas of pop culture that it's synonymous with being a complete and utter badass. So there's really not much else to say about that. John Rambo comes in at number 3. Number 2, James Bond. I didn't want to single out any one James Bond here because I think they all have redeeming qualities. But how can you have a list of best action heroes ever without incorporating James Bond, who was portrayed by a lot of people? I know I'm going to leave some of them off. Right here, you know, it's a Roger Moore. You had Pierce Brosnan, Sean Connery, Daniel. Got the newest one. Why am I drawing a blank? Yeah, I'm not even getting into all of them. Daniel, the newest one. Daniel Craig. James Bond is just a British secret agent who loves vagina. He is suave and debonair and just very classy, but he also has a lot of cool gadgets and a lot of cool killing skills. I mean, there have been so many James Bond movies and so many different portrayals of the character, but they all do a pretty good job. My personal favorite is Sean Connery, just because he's the freaking man. But you know, it's easy to you could not. I would challenge anyone who made a top whatever list of heroes without including James Bond on it. So James Bond comes in at number 2 with his classic British style. Numero uno, my favorite action hero of all time. I know. I know. It's Han Solo. Harrison Ford gets his second character on this list with his portrayal of the rogue scoundrel Han Solo from the Star Wars trilogy, and not just the original trilogy. He shows back up in the most recent trilogy. Um, I mean, what's there to say about Han Solo? You know, guys want to be him, women want to be with him. He is not a scruffy looking nerf herder, that's for sure. He is just a classic. I mean, he's James Bond on steroids for me. You know, set in a space environment. He is the epitome of cool. I don't know many people who don't love Han Solo and didn't want to be Han Solo, and whose favorite character in Star Wars isn't Han Solo for that matter. He's just he's got the most suave, carefree, cool attitude about everything. He's he's the coolest character ever. That's all I got to say about it. So that is my top 15 list of all time action heroes. If you liked it, drop me a like. If you had other ideas you thought I could have used, which I certainly did, feel free to leave comments telling me how much of an idiot I am for picking this list, and I really needed to include, I don't know, Christopher Lambert from Highlander or something like that. Always looking for input. I want to thank you for stopping by the Ultimate Fan Guy today as we take a look at our list of top 15 action heroes of all time. Again, if you liked it, subscribe, like. Let's keep this party going. I want to keep bringing y'all my opinions. I want to hear your input. So again, keep thugging. And thanks again for stopping by. Much love.